I'm just going to give you a little bit of some insights to some research, and Caroline will be joining us, but it may be that we go into breakout rooms and do a bit of networking before she does. So at some stage over the hour, Caroline will come and join us and give the talk that she has prepared. And I say that in the loosest form because Caroline's just going to come and be herself. And she's very, very good at that. And we're all very, very good at that. So that's really, I think, to say that actually, if we can turn up as ourselves, we are very inspirational, all of us. So if I can get you to turn off your cameras. Oh, here's Caroline now. So hang on a minute, keep your cameras on. We'll let Caroline in. She can say hello to everybody. So I've got it on, I've put mine on speaker view. So if you do that to your gallery for now, if you put it on speaker view, then you should get me or whoever's speaking come up large in your screen. Just seeing where Caroline is. Yeah. Okay. So Caroline, when you come in, can you just, if you start speaking and then you'll pop up on the screen.
Hi Tracy, hello everyone. I am in. Would you like me to start speaking now, or are you in the middle of something? Sorry, I apologise for being late.
No worries. That's very good. So I'm just going to just talk about some facts from the report, and then I'll hand over to you. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Brilliant. So I'm going to talk to you about some research being done. Can you all see me sort of full size in your screen as I'm talking?
Yep.
Yes, good stuff. Because you might not be, you need to, my slides are handcrafted. So this is a study that came out of Harvard, and there were several studies they took information from. So, and what they said is that quite often when an organization is not doing well, women step up into the leadership roles. And they called it the glass cliff. So instead of the glass ceiling, we're put in place when the organization's in trouble. So they wanted to understand if that was because females had different leadership traits that worked better when organizations were in crisis. So the research was done as a result of that. Given that women step up to the glass cliff, what was the impact of female leadership in the pandemic? So this was a piece of research. So countries that had female leaders at the time of the pandemic did systemically better or had better outcomes than other countries. So where there were female leaders, the countries actually did better. But another piece of research that came out of the States, the US, looked at different states, and states with female leaders had lower fertility rates. So they actually, again, had better outcomes where there were female leaders. And what people expressed about the leaders is they actually brought up the fear, and brought attention to the fact that people are fearful. They had a more focus on people's well-being, but the people were also felt that the female leaders were more confident in the plans that were being put together. So that's quite striking. And then this other piece of research that shows you female and male leaders, and this is from a 360-degree study looking at leadership. And so here we've got figures pre-pandemic and during the pandemic. So this is scored on a 360 against several competencies. And we can see here, men did move forward in the pandemic on their scores, but women started higher and actually went forward even more. So they scored even higher in the pandemic against these competencies, these core leadership competencies. And so what were the competencies that really stuck out? So they've listed them here and you can see some of them. No surprising really. So the top one, takes initiative. So here where they scored 10 points ahead of their male counterparts. Learning agility, so being able to learn on the move and learn quickly. Inspires and motivates others, scored very highly. Develop others, scored very highly. What I've done is put asterisks against the one, I should have put it against the top one here, that where the women scored much higher, there's significantly different score from the men. Building relationship was another one. Displaying high levels of integrity and honesty was another one. And then communicates powerfully. Collaboration and teamwork came up very strong as well. Champions change and makes decisions. So they were all significantly higher scores. Then the last one where there's a really high score was this first at the top here, drives for results, but more importantly, I think here, really values diversity. So the only two competencies where female leaders didn't outscore the men were on technical and professional expertise and taking risk. And we've always known, you know, whenever you do anything on women, we talk about women not being risk takers and men being more risk takers. But even on that score, you can see there's hardly a difference. Where there's the scores on this, something like here, is a 9-point difference, whereas here it's marginal, the difference between the male and the female leaders. So thinking about when I'm going to swear, I hope nobody minds, when the shit hits the fan and women stand up, I think, what's clear in this is our ability to inspire, but our ability to develop those around us, our ability to truly collaborate, to be honest, to be vulnerable, to talk about fear, are the things that really set female leadership apart and what's really needed. And I am the chair of London Wish, but I also train in leadership development, and the attention is on conscious leadership, self-awareness, listening skills, and really leveraging diversity. And that listening to others comes through on all those scores, I think, of the women. And you can imagine as a female leader or a leader, if you collaborate well, if you're truly able to listen and build relationship, and you're honest, you're going to be a lot more comfortable and confident in your decision making, because there's less blagging going on and much more collaboration and knowing. So I just wanted to share that, because I thought, for me, right now, the rise in the more feminine energy into leadership is vital and really, really much needed. And so I'm going to hand over to Caroline, who's going to talk about her own leadership experiences.
Thank you very much, Tracy. And yeah, what an amazing piece of research. I think the first thing I would probably say is it's a shame that it's taken a pandemic, for the world to actually begin to see that there is huge benefit in having women in positions of power and leadership. And as you quite rightly mentioned, Tracy, at the beginning, the leaders who have demonstrated to us through the pandemic, that actually they have been in charge and they have achieved quite amazing results. Looking at Prime Minister Jacinda in New Zealand, Angela Merkel in Germany, the Taiwanese president and what she's achieved. But I guess the pandemic, what it's done is it's shone the spotlight for me on actually what already existed. And I certainly don't think that there is anything new here. And what's wonderful for me, and thank you for inviting me sort of to take up this 10 minutes, but to be present amongst a group of totally amazing leaders in yourselves, people who I've admired and certainly have been my role models throughout my career. And I won't name any names, but hopefully you know who you are, those of you that are looking at me through the screen right now. So most of you know, hopefully know who I am, but just to put to sort of for those of you who don't know who I am a member of the Wish Board. Thank you, Tracy, again for inviting me to be a member of the Wish Board. And a while ago, I'm one of the partners at Erin Miller Partnership. We're a multidisciplinary practice, and I won't take up too much time talking about us, but I joined Erin Miller about 5-6 years ago when I was actually invited by the partners to come on board as a fellow partner to help them develop an area of the business that they'd been sort of struggling, I guess, to get off the ground. And that area of the business is the client side work that I currently lead with an amazing team of staff at Erin Miller. And what we do on the client side is we work predominantly with local authorities, helping them to bring forward major projects. And over the last 5 years, those have been estate regeneration projects. So that's sort of just putting my role in context. And the other part of Erin Miller is very technical, but as I said, I won't take up too much time talking about Erin Miller. I mean, my journey to working with Erin Miller, prior to that, I was actually working as a consultant in my own right for the best part of 12 years before that. And again, I really don't want to take up too much time talking about my journey, because actually, again, some of you probably know, that my humble beginnings, I say humble, but my quite challenging beginnings was as a nurse and a social worker. And at a point in my career, I decided actually that, that I wanted to do something different, or those careers decided it for me. And so I had to sort of find another route out, and hence found myself in the built environment, which I've enjoyed immensely. It hasn't been a particularly easy journey, and I'm preaching to the converted here, being in our sector. I've faced my fair share of challenges, but I am one of those sorts of women, and I think it's very much driven by my mum, who, I look for doing things that are harder, that perhaps my parents would have said, no, you can't do that, that's impossible. And I'm like, well, you know what, I'm just going to give it a go. And that's my, the way that I've kind of, built my career, is actually just not being afraid of stepping out and saying, I'm going to give it a go. But in so doing, I've had a lot of pushback. I've had a lot of pushback from, our sort of the very masculine world of development. I've also had pushback, quite surprisingly, by women. And I've had pushback not only just for being a woman that wants to be in this industry, but I've had pushback for being a Black woman that wants to be in this industry. And those experiences have done nothing more but to sort of spur me on, really. Main reasons being I'm raising children. I'm raising 2 daughters. I've got a son, but I'm raising 2 daughters. And it's really, really important for me that they see that actually the world is not an easy place for you as young Black women. And it won't be an easy place for you as women. But what you hopefully you see in your mum is somebody who says, in spite of all of that, actually, these things are possible. What I feel, what I want to achieve is possible. What I dream is possible, regardless of what anybody says. And part of that is also, I say to my daughters, don't be afraid to challenge authority. don't be afraid to challenge me as your authority. Don't be afraid to challenge anybody else in a position of authority either, because what that does is it brings you a certain amount of respect. It is something I'm sort of in my spare time. I mentor for the Housing Diversity Network, and I do some informal mentoring as well for others in the industry. And those are the sorts of messages that I often, put across, is just don't be afraid, try it. Because if you don't try it, you'll never know. If you get knocked back, just get up and start again. If I started to tell you my story, I think most of you'd probably be sat there open-jawed to think where I came from and where I am now, and where I'm going to continue to go as well. So, my journey is certainly not over, not by any stretch. My work with Erin Miller has been amazing. I've got 3 fellow partners that support my aspirations personally, and my aspirations for the organisation. In a lot of ways, they probably actually don't have much of a choice, because I can be quite a forceful person. Whilst I can be a forceful person, I'm also very, very caring, and part of that might be the fact that I'm a mother. During the pandemic, have I really presented myself as the best mother out there? Probably not. And if you ask my 13-year-old daughter, she'd probably say no, she was a really shit mother. She never fed me throughout the whole pandemic. I had to feed myself. But, she's a strong girl who has been able to go through the pandemic, actually, with her mum working bloody hard in the office, but she's just carried on anyway. Have I been an amazing wife throughout the pandemic? Again, probably not. My husband would probably say, no, she didn't feed me. And that's why I've lost so much weight. But again, he's in the other room working just as hard as I'm working. And after every working day, quite honestly, whilst I don't feed them during the day, I make sure that, I do cook a meal, and that we do sit down together, and eat as a family. Now, during the pandemic, I think a couple of things that I've done, which genuinely I'm really proud of. I sort of set myself a goal pre-pandemic, that I was actually at a point in my career where I wanted to start taking on different challenges. I decided that I wanted to look at non-exec positions, and it was the beginning of a journey. And no sooner had I sort of said that to myself that an opportunity presented itself. I was invited to apply for the role of for a non-exec role with an organisation called Social and Sustainable Capital. And please do look them up. They're an amazing organisation. And I applied, and to my absolute amazement, was invited to join the board. Whilst I think a week after I accepted that, another opportunity presented itself in the guise of Homes for Lambeth. And when that opportunity came up to apply for the group chair of Homes for Lambeth, having been involved in actually setting up Homes for Lambeth some 4 years ago, it was a real honour actually to have been asked by the chief executive of the council, the chief executive of Homes for Lambeth, and actually a couple of other colleagues in the industry who'd sent me the advert and said, you know what, you should apply for this. And I thought about it and I thought, right, okay, I should apply for this. Firstly, who's the outgoing chair? What sorts of shoes am I looking to fill here? What size, what caliber? And I don't know if any of you know much about Homes for Lambeth, but if you don't, you won't know that the then group chair, male, white, a lot older than me, I'd probably say 20 plus years older than me, we could not be more different. And I thought, okay, there's an opportunity here. First of all, let me make sure that I'm not being asked to apply for this because I'm Black and I fit the bill simply because we are in a period where the issue that happened in America in the summer has really raised the whole profile around race, racism, women in leadership, Black women in leadership. I didn't want to be a token. And I made that position very, very clear to the chief executive of the council and the chief exec of the organisation, because I value my credentials, the fact that I've got to where I am today, and I value it very much, not just because I'm a Black woman, but because I've worked bloody hard to get here. So if you want me to be involved, let's hope that it's because you want to benefit from, the experience that I can bring to the table. And I wasn't shy in saying that to them. So they actually had the job to convince me that they wanted me for X, Y, and Z reasons. Again, sorry, I'm not going to take up too much time on that, but one point I wanted to make on my appointment with Homes for Lambeth, and it's probably the most difficult interview process that I have ever been through in my entire professional career. It was a process that was a 4-stage interview process. On one of the days, I was interviewed from 9:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the evening with a 30-minute break for lunch and a wee. So that they just assumed that I only needed to wee once. I'm a woman in my 50s, for goodness sake, I need to wee a lot. But anyway, my bladder was tight. So, but it was really, really difficult, really, really challenging. And before the very last interview, I went out for a walk with my 18-year-old daughter, and I said to her, we were talking about this process, and I said, there's a question that I really need to be able to answer, Maya, and I'm not quite sure how to go about it. And she said, what's the question, Mum? I said, well, they want to know why me? Why me for this role? And she said something without thinking. And she said, well, why not you, Mum? You need to ask them the question, why not you? And the minute she said that, everything all sort of just fell into place for me. And I thought, you know what, girl, you are absolutely right. Why not me? You tell me why not me, because actually you've approached me. So, the fact that you've taken me this far, you've already put me through 3 stages of interviewing. You tell me now, why not me? I've sort of approached that last stage of the interview very, very differently. And it was, and I was very honest as well during my interviews. I was honest about the fact that, look, I've never been a group chair before. In fact, I've never been a chair before. And actually, you know what? These are the areas that I think I'm going to need help in. So, and I think that's one thing about us as women is that, is about being authentic, is about being you, is about actually just digging real deep and bringing to the surface all of those things that we as women just have. It's innate in us. We are, I hate to sort of, and I don't want to stereotype us by using these words, but compassionate, but we are nurturers, we are builders, you name it, we are it. And actually, I do feel very proud of the place where I am today, having been appointed subsequently in that role of Homes for Lambeth. And God, it's really, really hard work. But that was, something that I felt I achieved during the pandemic, whilst keeping my business afloat and whilst also keeping my clients' businesses afloat, their work afloat. And this is all, did my husband manage to juggle as many balls? Hell no, of course he didn't. It was juggling one, and that was work. And I can count on, on one hand the number of times that he went in and said, let me do the dinner, whilst I was in the meetings, back to back, 9 to 8 or 9 to 5 or whatever. So, we do have it in us, and it shouldn't take a pandemic, for anyone to recognize that. It's just go out there, go and get it, go and do it. Most of us are doing it anyway. And I think we are, all of us here are sort of the role models for that next generation of young women who actually, they are so ready to do things differently. And I think we are going to have a very, very different group of leaders out there in our young women, but it does start also with us, as leaders, as I say, as role models for those ladies. Now, I've probably taken up my 10 minutes, so I'm going to shut up there and pass back over to Tracy.
Thank you very much for the signalling. Very good. No one can hear you. So thank you. So very, very inspirational. And we had a little chat in the car, and every time I meet Caroline, Caroline is absolutely Caroline. And from the moment I met her, and I didn't know her, she's the same person as here today. And there's something about their authenticity. And so when you meet her, and I'm sure you can feel her energy on this Zoom even, you feel like there's somebody solid in front of you, somebody that has this sort of inner confidence, whether that's true or not, Caroline. But it definitely comes across. It definitely comes across. You're just a pleasure and delight to be with. So thank you. And shall we go into breakout rooms? So I'm going to put you all into breakout rooms. You're 4 or 5 in a breakout rooms. We're going to have a go at just having 10 minutes. So the art of networking. I remember going to something networking thing once, and this woman said, what you have to do is you move around the room as fast as you can with business cards. And you just say, what do you do? What do you do? Do we have a fit? Thank you. Here's my card. Bye. And go on to the next person. You get right down to business. Okay. So given there'll be 4 or 5 in a room and you'll have 10 minutes, just talk about what you want to get from your 10 minutes with the people that you're together with, in obviously the most polite way. Excellent, excellent. So let's go around the rooms then. So if you can remember what room you're in, I suppose it doesn't matter. Who was in room 1?
I think we were room 1, and
oh gosh, everybody was in room 1 then, because I think on all occasions I got to room 1. Maybe that's what...
We were room 5, Zeba.
Were we? Really? He said room 1. I joined.
Very good, very good. Okay, Shauna, who's your spokesperson?
I'm the spokesperson. In our group, I was speaking about what Maria says to us often is to just give it a try. And I think it was one of the things that resonated the most with us, because if you don't do something, then you're not going to know if you're any good at it anyway. And one of the key things is that if you never fail, you're learning from something. So that's always going to be the benefit as well. So yeah, if you just give it a try. Brilliant,
thank you. So do anybody know who was in room 2?
It might be us.
Well, go for it.
It might be us, and I was tasked to speak to feedback. So what we felt was, we liked what Caroline said around the challenge, particularly around her child. So we had don't be afraid to challenge. And we got a bit excited. So can I just give the other 2? So it was be kind to yourself, okay? Yeah. And also, sort of align yourself with other women and partner and be seen. And it's okay to be vulnerable. So sorry, we had more than one.
Brilliant. All very good. That's because you're a coach, I expect.
It's all coming out. Thank you.
Okay, room 3 or another room?
I'm doing room 3.
Thanks, Jean.
Well, we're sort of joined us all together into one, really, but it's sort of don't be afraid of being wrong. You've got to put something out there, because otherwise nobody knows what's going on. Don't be scared of criticism, learn from it. I'm desperately trying to remember what the third thing was. It's completely gone now.
Can anyone help?
Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself.
Oh, brilliant. A bit like Kylie.
And even if you know you are right, try and see things from the other person's point of view.
Lovely.
Going in, don't just trample all over them. Be a bit more conciliatory.
Very good. Thank you, Jean. Room 4?
Was that us? I'm not sure if we was room 4.
Go for it anyway.
Yeah. So me and the other ladies was actually similar to Shauna. Actually, we did say we just want to try something. As hard as it may come across in our minds, it is best to just try. One of my favorite quotes is, felt early, and felt often and fell forward. So generally, when you're trying, you may fail, but generally you get back up, you brush your back off, and you just go again. So overall, just keep trying and don't stop.
Lovely. Thank you, Andrea. So
We had
that-
another, can you come with, on in that same
Yeah.
room, we had another one that for me is really resonating lately. So I wanted to share that as well. And I think Caroline mentioned that as well, about being your authentic self and not being afraid to be vulnerable and just being transparent. So if you need to be, we have to be strong in that.
Brilliant, thank you. So room 5 then, Ziba, your room, who was your spokesperson?
That's me, Angela. Hi. So we're a bit of a mixture of the last one and Jean, so 3, because so we were talking about being honest and not to worry if you don't necessarily understand what's being spoken about. Not everybody knows everything, but be confident to say if you don't understand something, because probably there are other people in the room who don't understand everything. Try not to sort of pretend that you know something, because you'll sort of get found out. So it's about, again, being authentic to yourself and being honest to yourself and just pushing forward. Yeah. So own up if you don't know something. Don't be afraid to speak up and be yourself.
Lovely, thank you.
Can I just add one thing? We are amazing, emotionally intelligent, right? Women are far more most emotionally intelligent than men. Why don't we play to that strength?
Exactly.
I think it's one of our fundamental things that we don't see.
Yeah.
Don't behave like a man, behave like a woman, because we are far more emotionally aware. And I think that gives us an edge.
I agree with you. And I think that's played out now when we're in a fearful environment, with the female leadership. So thank you, Jit. So now we've got one more room, I think. Anybody not spoken? Was it only 5? Okay, brilliant. So I haven't missed anybody out then. That's good. Good stuff. So I'm just going to add to that. There's a couple of sayings: jump and a net will appear. So go for it. And I think what Shauna's saying about learning is, if you know you're jumping and you're willing to learn and you're curious, then you can't fail. And coming back to that, be prepared to be wrong. I had an event the other day when I said to a chap, what's the temperature of the sea in the winter? And he went 10 degrees. And I said, do you actually know that? And he sort of went, well, yes. No, you don't actually, do you? You don't know that. And that is a difference between a man and a woman. He'd go, right, you're 10 degrees. Whereas we'd go, oh, we don't know, we'll look it up. I think that sort of sums up the difference between men and women. So definitely be prepared to be not know the answers, I think.
Tracy, I really like that. The cabinet meeting that I just came out of, there was a question asked of me, and my corporate director was there, and he sort of flapped around trying to answer the question, where actually she said, I haven't got that right now, which is what I sort of said. I don't have that right now, but I'm more than happy to come back to you with it.
Yeah.
But he was there flapping around trying to give an answer. It's just like, shut up and just say you don't know.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and I think that is the difference, because by saying that, we learn. And so thank you, everybody. Thank you for everybody's energy. It's been really lovely to have an hour with you all. And do keep an eye on the website. There's national events you can sign up for as well, for Wish, as well as our London events. So follow us on LinkedIn. We have a London Wish page, and there is a Wish GB page. So do follow us on LinkedIn, and post your stories, as well. You can always tag us and hashtag us, and us personally on the board. And we'll share and pick up your stuff. So do that. We've got this lovely, fantastic network that I don't feel we're leveraging enough, all of us. So do that. So thank you, everybody. So if you want to all come off mute, does anyone want anything to say? Does anyone feel the need to say anything before we sign off?
Only that I think this is a lovely way of networking and stops me hiding in a corner just watching people.
It's great, isn't it, going in the rooms?
Really good.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for your energy, everybody. Stay
Thank you,
well.
Tracy.
All right, take care.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
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 Bye.